Hi guys, Nick Watts here for We Love Betting. Just a 1 out of 3 last week, but it was the bet that I liked the most, Manchester United to beat Liverpool. It was just so obvious, and I think they even drifted just before kick-off, as seems to be the tradition when it comes to Liverpool. Always seems to be some sort of movement on them in whatever game they're in, really. So hopefully you got a bit of the 10 to 11. You might even have got a bit of even money for Manchester United, which quite frankly was one of the bets of the year and rescued my weekend, certainly. Got 3 more bets this weekend. I'm going to caveat that with the fact that I think this is a really tough coupon. That said, I thought it was actually quite a decent coupon last week and I only got 1 out of 3, so worth trying my luck and seeing if I can improve on that. I'm starting with Swansea against Stoke. Stoke obviously were one of the sides that let me down last week, in as much that I had under 2.5 goals in their match against Chelsea, and the Stoke defence just seems to have, I don't know, developed a bit of a wobbleitis really of late, conceding all sorts of goals. Just looking at the stats in my notes here, no clean sheet in 4, 11 goals conceded in that time, although in fairness they had just played Chelsea and Man City. Still can't really score goals away from home. Just 7 away goals, and I think only West Ham have scored less on their travels. So just one to be wary of there. Swansea, of course, have had all kinds of cup distractions. Both of these sides, of course, played FA Cup replays, but Swansea's that day later, and you know the tougher game, obviously going away to Arsenal. They rested Michu in that game, which was interesting, and it will be fascinating to see if he plays again here, really, because you know the priority without a doubt is the Capital One Cup semi-finals, and rightly so. How often are Swansea in a position to win a trophy? You know, favourites to progress against Chelsea, and then we favourites to win the final wherever they're up against, with Villa's current form, and obviously Bradford for obvious reasons. So you know, for me, Laudrup doing the right thing, considering they're in mid-table. They look pretty safe in the Premier League, and you know, I can understand why he'd be inclined to prioritise things towards the Cup. It obviously complicates issues a little bit when you're looking at their Premier League games. Team selection obviously so important, but they have drawn 4 out of 5 games recently, and Stoke obviously big drawers as well. Swansea have actually drawn the most home games in the Premier League with 6, Stoke the most overall with 11, and I think Swansea got that 4 or 5 draws. Stoke, before they were playing Chelsea and Man City, had a similar sort of record, 4 or 5 as well. So the draw sticks out for me here at 12 to 5. Just, you know, pretty big price for sides that are very prone to finish all square. And I think the circumstances suit both teams to pick up a point and get things on track. So on to the second game then. Wigan v Sunderland is the glamorous choice. I'm sure Chris Graham would have a few jokes about this one were I to be sitting beside him. But flying solo, I'm just going to focus on the stats really here, and the fact that Wigan have not been great at home. It's been a bit of a problem for them for a number of years, to be honest now. They've got the second worst home record to QPR. They've won 2, drawn 3 and lost 6 on their own turf. And crucially, they've got the worst defence on their home pitch as well. 22 goals conceded. Not great stuff, it has to be said. Sunderland, you could look at their recent record. I think the last 8 games they've won 4 and drawn 4, but actually they're probably punching above their weight, really, in as much that they've lost to teams that probably you could say that they should lose to, the likes of Spurs, the likes of Chelsea, Manchester United, and then beating a few of the teams you'd expect them to beat, including West Ham, of course, last week at home, but also beat Man City in there as well. So probably had a higher return than you would have expected from them of late, and you've got to give them some credit for that. Not the highest scorers away from home themselves, but they have leaked a few, 11 goals against them in the last 6, and I'm always one to talk about bad defences being the key to goals in games. Interesting when you look at the over-unders that you've got sort of 8 to 11 for under 2.5 goals, and I can see why the initial perception would be that these are teams that don't score a lot of goals, and so under's the natural choice. But at the same time, 73% of Wigan home games, 64% of Sunderland away games have been over 2.5 goals. So I see no reason why overs should be 11 to 10. It just looks a touch of value based on those stats, and so I'm going for that with my second bet. Third and final then, it's Liverpool v Norwich, and while I so often have critical things to say about Liverpool, the fact is actually they've got a pretty decent record against sides in the bottom 10 this year. Still haven't beaten a side in the top half of the table, but bottom half wise, they've actually been really, really efficient. They've won 8, drawn 2, lost 1. They've won the 5 wins that they've had at Anfield against those sides. They've won to 0. And they've dispatched the likes of Fulham, Sunderland, and Wigan with a degree of emphaticness, if there's such a word. Norwich, on the other hand, lost their way. Really had a really tough fixture list since sort of Christmas time, and it's really eroded the confidence, which was such a massive thing, and a side that probably lacks a bit of quality of some of its rivals, but has always sort of based it on team spirit. And credit to Chris Hughton, but just they've lost that momentum. And for me, Liverpool have just dispatched them the last couple of times they've played them. Luis Suarez in particular has had a field day, 3-5 any time to score in this game, which is not exactly a price that jumps off the page, but I think he can still lead them to a comfortable victory here. It was basically a toss-up between win to 0 or -1, and I've gone Liverpool -1 purely because there's 10 to 11 out there, 3 to 4 in some places, but 10 to 11 available, and at that price I think Liverpool good value to win by at least 2 clear goals. So just a quick recap then. Swansea v Stoke, I'm going for the draw at 12 to 5. Wigan Sunderland, I'm going over 2.5 goals at 11 to 10. And my only odds on shop this week is Liverpool Norwich, Liverpool -1 goal at 10 to 11.